Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of Futboliando with your host, Jose Duran. I am coming to you live from a different venue with the beautiful Toyota Arena here in Ontario, California, where the Ontario Fury is going to take on the Chihuahua Savage on some MASL action here tonight in the beautiful Inland Empire. But I'm here to break down to you everything that had to do with this weekend's past games with the LA Galaxy as they take on Charlotte FC in their new game, and as well as the LAFC game against Portland this past Sunday at the Bank of California. But before we go ahead and get to those games, we want to go ahead and send our thoughts and prayers to all the families affected out in Querétaro. We obviously know the events that had transcurred and unfortunately events that happened out there in Mexico. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone. It's unfortunate events that we never want to see in sports, but more specifically the sport that we cover here, soccer, right? I think it's a pastime that definitely has no place for it. So our thoughts and prayers with everyone affected. And we wish that there's some type of resolution that leads to none of this anymore in the beautiful game of soccer. But like I said, we're here to go ahead and discuss to you and break down to you this past weekend event between the LA Galaxy games and touch upon the LAFC games as well, right? I have a couple notes that I took on. Most importantly for the LA Galaxy game, I think it was a great start for them, different start than they had against New York City FC at home, right? I think the big game that happened this past Saturday, 75,000 fans in Charlotte, and a big matchup for Big Fox, right? Big Network Fox, Homer Simpson Fox. I think it's definitely a great showcase to not only to the whole country as a whole, but to the world as well, right? That the MLS soccer has arrived here in the United States, and it's only going and going to keep going from here, right? Interested to see the teams from the southern part of the country, right, with large bases, not so much teams right from the West Coast, teams from the East Coast that generally big markets. These small market teams that are making big noises with the fan attendance, like Atlanta is, like Charlotte, and as well, right? So I think it was a great turnout for the MLS, and it's a great game for Major League Soccer. Obviously, we didn't see a big scoring game like a lot of folks who aren't familiar with the game tend to like and see, but it was a great entertaining game, right? I think the end of the half it ended about 15, 16 shots in favor of the Galaxy as opposed to Charlotte. It wasn't that much of a challenge for the Galaxy. So I guess we will go ahead and just dive into breaking down the game, right? I think it was a different start, a different approach to the game the Galaxy had this past weekend. One that they had to start, they should have started the same mentality against New York City. I think it would have got to change the ending of that game, but it's too late winning games to the Galaxy back to back weeks, right? And what a way to do it with Edson Alvarez's goal. We'll go. I mean, Efrain Alvarez's goal. We'll get a touch upon it as we go later on the broadcast because I want to go ahead and touch upon the opportunities that we saw. Right, I think we saw Victor Vasquez almost had a goal of the week and a goal of the year candidate as well. Before that, Efrain Alvarez goal that just hits the post. I think seeing him and go down, unfortunately, that way he did with the injury, going to play an impact for the Galaxy moving forward. But luckily for them, they have someone like Sasha Keston to go ahead and step in if need be, right? But I think the connection that Vasquez has with Chicharito, the way that Chicharito played this past game was sort of spectacular. I think we see a player that's engaged, we see a player that's hungry. We saw throughout the whole first half the misses that he had, the opportunities that he put himself to be successful. It's something that that I definitely pay attention to throughout the game. So I saw a different Chicharito, I saw a hungry Chicharito, a compromised Chicharito. I'm here to go ahead and make a difference, and he knows, right? I think he said that in a couple interviews that he knows that every single point matters, every single goal matters. As he, unfortunately for the Galaxy and Chicharito, they found out that this last past season and getting eliminated very late in the last game last year, right? So I think his mentality is different and his approach is way different, right? We see his emotions right throughout the game and exactly how it happened with that Alvarez golazo, right? I think Greg Vanny decided to go ahead and not sit back and take the tie. I think that's the way the game was headed, right? I think when it was still deadlock 0-0, it was either to go it was going to go to Charlotte's way or for the Galaxy's way. And I felt it was going to be an error that's going to cost the Galaxy. Unfortunately for them, that wasn't the case. But we saw again a couple of mistakes in the back by Sega Koulibaly. In the beginning of the game, we saw in the 6th minute a possible slap to the face again for Araujo. Didn't get seen, didn't get called, but it's just little things that ends up coming and bite you at the end. But fortunately for the Galaxy, something that we didn't get to see this week as much, and they were a different team, a different mentality. They attacked the game differently. But most importantly, they got out of a game playing away and in front of a 75,000 crowd with the 3 points. Right, back-to-back wins to start the season yet again for them. It's something that to take a look at. I think for the Galaxy, they're looking like a complete team that's only going to get better as the game goes, right? Douglas Costa, we saw him take a couple of shots on goal in the first half as well. I think not happy so much that he came out as a sub, but it's just, the movements that Vandy has to go ahead and make. He's not there fully to go ahead and play the full 90 minutes yet, but he'll get there, right? I think we saw a couple connections, a through ball that he played for Chicharito in one of the plays that he got a shot on goal. So that connection is going to be really interesting to see for throughout the whole season. But it's great to see him getting involved. It's great to see him get a shot towards goal, not on goal, but it's good to see him getting a shot towards goal to see how comfortable he's going to get throughout the year, right? He's not going to go ahead and make a big splash entrance like we were seeing like Zlatan, like Beckham were in the past, but he's going to have a huge impact for this game, for the Galaxy and for the league as a whole, right? And now let's go ahead and talk about the goal, right? The Efrain Alvarez golazo, that zurda, that lefty magical foot that he has, so talented, and he showed us what he can do. If Efrain Alvarez could do that on a consistent basis, if he could go ahead and provide that kind of play and touch on a consistent back-to-back game basis and throughout the whole year, there's absolutely, without a doubt, that he will be the comeback player of the season, right? At the beginning of the year, I kind of saw it, and I still believe it strongly, right? Kevin Cabral, I'm still trying to hope that he goes in and flip things over. Didn't have the best game. I mean, he's putting himself in the right spots. He just cannot shoot and get a good cross to save his life, as a matter of fact. So I think if he's able to go ahead and better himself there, he's getting himself in the right positions. I'm talking about Cabral here. He'll able to go ahead and get better throughout the season goes. So it's either be Cabral and Efrain Alvarez. I think those are two for me down as comeback players of the year. For so far, Efrain Alvarez making that statement as me, right? He's come back. He's come into both games and made an impact in both games as well. But the golazo that he scored, I think they were saying on the broadcast, is about a 3% chance of that goal actually going in. So the fact that it went in for Efrain Alvarez, it was a golazo for the Galaxy. He shuts down the crowd, and he's able to go ahead and bring those 3 points back to Los Angeles, right? For the Galaxy, though, they were fortunate again that they played a Charlotte team. We see a Charlotte team that's going to be struggling. We see a Charlotte team that's going to be it's still playing like a new team, right? That just joined the league. So all the pieces aren't there yet. The head coach will tell you himself that all the pieces aren't there yet. So there'll be a team that's going to be progressing throughout the season. But they were fortunate enough, the Galaxy was, to face Charlotte just because they had no type of offense going for them throughout the whole game, right? There were no threat for the Galaxy. Here and there, a couple of miscues that came on the defensive side for the Galaxy, but they were able to go ahead and still get out here in a clean sheet. And as much as, I've been critical of the defense throughout the preseason, throughout the season last year, and I'm still going to be out throughout the season this year, they have back-to-back games, 180 minutes without conceding a goal, right? Fortunate enough not to go ahead and face a team like they did against Charlotte that didn't challenge them as much as they should. But they're going to go ahead and play Seattle. So I think coming up next, right, a trip to Lumen Field this upcoming weekend, it's going to go ahead and test and see where the Galaxy really are, right? It's obviously a difficult matchup for the Galaxy when they go play Seattle. Big rivalry up there. They're a full, complete team. Are the Seattle Sounders. So it's going to be a great test and matchup to see exactly where the Galaxy stands at, right? I think their defense is going to definitely get tested out there with the offensive power that they have with Roldan, with Morris, and company out there in Seattle. So the Galaxy are going to have a tough game this coming weekend and see where exactly they stand as a team, right? With actually playing a great competition. New York City FC, seen they still kind of were rusty this past weekend. The Galaxy were able to go ahead and get the 3 points with a late winner there with Chicharito. And the Charlotte FC team that we obviously saw was no competition for the Galaxy. They were able to go ahead and handle the team, but fortunately, a couple of mistakes didn't lead to goals and a dark night for the Galaxy, right, for this past weekend. So we'll see what happens in Lumen Field. I think the Galaxy are going to go ahead and get a taste of reality, right? And it's fine. It's a long season. You learn from the mistakes that you commit. I see them losing against Seattle at home. Obviously, Seattle also, let's point out, haven't had a great start to their campaign. It seems like the CONCACAF Champions League games that they've been playing throughout the week is affecting them. So something to point out and look out too as well that might benefit the Galaxy this weekend. But I see it a tough way to get out there and get a win. I see Seattle coming out victorious, but it's going to be a great matchup to see where the Galaxy, where they're at as a team and where they're going to be going throughout the season. So that ends LA Galaxy talk. It was a great 3 points for LA, and it was a great way to go ahead and silence a 75,000 crowd in Charlotte. Let's go ahead and move on to LAFC. Great showing, great crowd, and a great game. I think it was, regardless of the outcome, whether you're a Portland fan or you're a LAFC fan, it was a fun night. And of course, if you're a Portland fan, you're definitely not happy with that red card call. That I think definitely wasn't a second yellow. It's definitely a foul, absolutely. But a second yellow at that moment of the game definitely was not a second yellow to leave the Seattle Sounders with 10 men for about 62nd minutes or 28 minutes left in the whole game, right? So it definitely paid an effect for the final score. LAFC lost Carlos Vela at halftime. We heard Steve Cherundolo say that it was a precautionary move. A precautionary move for Cherundolo LAFC, or a precautionary move for Carlos Vela and himself trying to go ahead and get himself better, as he knows he's going to go ahead and have contract negotiations coming up in the summer, right? I thought it was an interesting move, to say the least, early. I think we're still early in the season to go ahead and still be taking precaution. He played throughout the whole preseason. Not sure if it was something that he was monitoring throughout the preseason or throughout last game too, right? Because we saw him score the hat trick against Colorado on week 1. Nothing seemed to be an issue with that there. So is Carlos Vela playing for LAFC, or like I said last week, right? Is Carlos Vela playing for Carlos Vela? So something interesting to be monitoring there. Regardless of it, I think we saw a team that was affected by that, a team that didn't have response to Portland. I think Portland feels very comfortable going into the bank. I think they've shown that through the previous games that they had, and this game too, right? Golazo by Jimmy Charra. A lot of folks are not calling that a bicycle kick. I mean, just go with it, right? I agree. Why I see why it wouldn't be a bicycle kick for some, but regardless of it, the golazo and the way it was, let's just go ahead and call it a bicycle kick, right? Chilena golazo by Jimmy Charra. Portland seems to go ahead and control the game and take possession of the most game, right? An LAFC team that seemed to want to go ahead and things going, but didn't seem to go ahead and find themselves in the positions they did last week against Colorado, right? Arango seems like a player that's going to break off. He had a struggle this past game. Obviously, didn't see him have the success that he's had in previous games. And Brian Rodriguez, I think I said it previously before, I think he was the key to LAFC's success, more so than Rossi. I know that a lot of folks tend to disagree with that, but I think the impact that Brian Rodriguez has and could have as a 21-year-old, as young as he has, and the stud that he displayed, that individual move to create that space and create that goal for fall was short of spectacular. I mean, crack, right? The way he takes the defender off himself, creates that space, makes a crossing at the moment of the game, at the time of the game. Yes, somebody else scored the goal, but that was a half a goal from Brian Rodriguez. So kudos to him. Definitely a player to go ahead and keep an eye out throughout the season with LAFC. He's only going to get better as the season goes, right? And I think he's definitely feels comfortable now in the league, right? A lot of not happy campers last couple of seasons, right? With Bob Bradley, I think he was definitely one of them. So, and now that he's gone, I think it's a different Rodriguez, right? Certainly a different Vela that we saw last week getting the 3 goals, but having him injured and seeing how that's going to be monitored throughout the season is going to pay a huge effect for LAFC, right? Coming up next for them, Miami FC. They take a trip down south, Miami, and see David Beckham's team, right? I think it's going to be a great challenge for them. Overall, a new Miami FC team from last year. I think it was about 8 or 9 of the players that they brought in the starting 11. The last couple of games have been completely new players from last season. So it's going to be a great test. I think they got tested this past weekend against Portland. They're not there yet. They're not the team that was dominant like they were with their first season or the second season, in fact, as well. Obviously, we know that it's different players, but it's LAFC, it's Los Angeles. The expectations to be great are there. And unfortunately for this team, there's still a lot of question marks going forward, right? It was a great result for them. It feels like a win because you end up getting a late goal at home when you probably should have lost the game. But regardless of it, it was a Portland team that came into your home and dominated throughout majority of the game, right? If it wasn't for the red card, who knows what the end result would have been. But it was a 1-1 game. Great for the fans who came out there and supported on a Sunday night. Sunday night at 7:00 p.m. is definitely not an ideal time for a Los Angeles fan base to go ahead and get out there. But they showed out there and were loud for throughout the whole 90 minutes, right? So kudos to them, and it was a great game. Like I mentioned, if you're an MLS fan, if you're not a fan, if you're a neutral fan of both, if you're not a Portland fan or LAFC fan in particular, it was a great game to go ahead and be a part of and witness at a national broadcast level, right? So we'll see how it goes for LAFC this upcoming weekend against Miami. I see them kind of regrouping and getting better as the season goes, and possibly coming out of here with the win, right? I think I see a 2-1 victory for them going their way. It's going to be interesting to see if Vela will be available or not, and we'll be monitoring his status throughout the season, throughout the week, and throughout the season as well. That's it for us here in Futboliando. Like I mentioned, thank you so much for being a part of yet another episode here. We bring you everything and anything that has to do with Los Angeles soccer. Like I mentioned, we had the call tonight here, the Spanish broadcast play-by-play. Ontario Fury against the Chihuahua Savage, the second place Ontario Fury in the third place in the Western Conference here. Battling to see who is definitely going to go and be that second place. We know that the San Diego Soccer's undefeated, folks, in the MASL play. They're on a 14-game winning streak. So obviously not Los Angeles, SoCal based, but whenever you get a chance, go ahead and tune in. Great action here, definitely in the Toyota Arena coming up. Game's about in 30 minutes at 7 o'clock. But thank you so much. Live from Toyota Arena. Like I mentioned, I am Jose Duran from Futboliando and Silent Sports Media. We'll be coming up to you next week with another episode, another Futboliando. We'll bring you everything and anything that has to do with Los Angeles soccer. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.